Thank you. Thank you, everybody. My name's Joe Pinaveri. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out and spend a few valuable hours with me today. And today we are going to cover how to prospect for clients. Now, like Donald Trump said, the art of the deal, right? The art of the deal. It's the most important thing that we face when we're in a sales career. Some of the difficult things, or one of the things we're going to cover today, is prospecting. Right? When we all think of sales, what is the one thing we think about that nobody ever wants to do? And that is, anybody want to raise their hand? Prospecting, right? Well, the reality is, prospecting is part of our everyday life. How many people here have been involved in the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts? Quite a few of you, huh? Well, how many of us have dealt with and participated in those Girl Scout cookie drives? Yes, a lot of us have, right? Well, that's prospecting. You know, every time somebody walks by, we ask them, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? Yeah, that's prospecting. You know, Boy Scouts, you know, or, you know, we've been part of a group. How many are part of the Kiwanis Club or a similar type of group? We've asked for membership. How many of us sat on membership committees? Well, that's prospecting. We're taking people that have no involvement in the organization. We're telling them the benefits, the reasons why they should be part of the organization, correct? And we're asking them, that's prospecting. So the reality is most of us in our everyday lives are prospecting in one way or the other. So that should help take some of the fear out of evaluating or actually improving as a sales professional. Now, a little bit about my history. For those of you that don't already know me, my name's Joe Pinaveri. Again, I've been in sales for over 25 years. I've participated in just about every kind of sales you can think of. I've telemarketed. I've gone door to door. I've even sold in retail outlets. There was a time where I sold jewelry at a local big box store, which I will not name, but I thought that was a very challenging career, standing there selling jewelry to absolute strangers. So there's nothing that I haven't done or experienced, and most of it revolves around the simple task of prospecting. So we'll start with the basics of prospecting. So when people think of prospecting in a sales environment, what do we think of?
Calling people.
Absolutely. Cold calling, right? We think of picking up that phone and calling people we don't even know. We've all got those calls at home at dinner time. We all have got them, right? Mm-hmm. Some stranger's calling you, asking you to buy something that you don't have any time or you don't want to hear. Half the time we can't even understand them, correct? Because they're either talking too fast. Absolutely, right? So what do? We hang up on them, or we even report them to the FCC in some cases. So, you know, that's typically what we associate, but really it doesn't have to be that way, because people will listen to you and people will buy from you if you give them a reason to hear. So back to the tools of prospecting, right? So we know we need a phone. We just talked about that. You know, when we think about the phone, you know, obviously what else do we need when we're cold calling with the phone? We need a list, right? We need, it could be as simple as the Yellow Pages. It could be a predetermined list that we purchase from a list retailer. So we need people to call. But I, for many years, have used just the simple Yellow Pages, right? Because it's all there, right? We know where they're at. We know their location. We know who they're calling, right? We know what business they're in. So the Yellow Pages is an effective tool. So what else would be a great tool when we're prospecting?
Internet.
Internet, great. And that's an excellent tool, right? Because we can go look them up on the website, right? We can find out who the CEO is. We can find out who the vice president of sales are. We can tell if they have branch locations. So now, when we make that cold call, we're actually informed with what kind of company they are, who they do, what do they do. So the internet is an excellent tool when we're prospecting. In fact, you know, when I'm talking to new reps, I always tell them initially to, you know, do some basic research, whether it's the Yellow Pages, look them up on the internet, and then actually make the call, because that makes it a more informed call. We actually call that gold calling, for those of you out there in the audience. So now we talked about the tools we need. Let's talk about the process of cold calling. So when we actually call a company, what are some of the things? Who are the people that we typically reach when we think of calling into a company?
The receptionist.
Excellent, right. The receptionist. We call them the gatekeeper in sales. The gatekeeper's job is to keep you from getting to the CEO. That's her one goal in life, is to block salespeople from getting to the upper management. But what are some of the tools that we can use to get around that person? I could tell you one of them is, I always typically, when I call a company, I always ask for sales, right? Because the sales guy always answers the phone, right? He's motivated. Typically, a salesperson will answer. And typically, I'll call into sales, and I say, "Can I speak to Bob?" And I always say Bob, because it sounds like I already have a relationship with him. Now, a sales guy isn't trained to be a gatekeeper. So if I call in and I ask for Bob, he typically sends me right over to Bob. So that one trick alone will help you get through at least 50% of the gatekeepers. Now, we don't have the time today to go into every single trick, but that's one trick that you can actually take home with you and apply to your day-to-day sales careers. Now, we talked about tools. We talked a little bit about process. Now we're going to talk about closing. Now, there was a great person that I like to quote, and well, actually a couple of people, that we call them the Sloan brothers, and they talk about going beyond yes. So when we're actually talking to people, we're actually got them on the line, they're interested in our product, and we have to take that interest and we actually have to turn it into an order. So some of the things we do is, when we get to that point where the client says, "Well, yeah, I'm really interested in your product," well, we would almost take that as a yes. We have to go really beyond to the next step, and that is to actually ask for the order. And it could be closing is just asking for the order, right? So, Mr. Johnson, I know you're interested. Obviously, we've talked about the product fitting your needs. Is there any reason why we can't go ahead and get one in the mail to you this afternoon? What is your address? Now, by going into that process, you're actually going beyond yes. The client says, "Well, my address is 15 Jones Street." You type it in, 15 Jones Street, and we'll have the order out to you today. Do you want to pay credit card or money order? It can be as easy as that. So really, that's going beyond yes. So closing is simply asking for the order and assuming that you already have the order. So that's another closing tip. Now, obviously, I'd like to really, in our upcoming sessions, we'll take that another step further. But that gives you a few basics that everybody can take home today. They can put them to real life use, and hopefully you'll be successful salespeople. Again, my name's Joe Pinaveri. I want to thank everybody for coming. I hope you see me in the future. Everybody visit my website, joepinaveria.com. I do have some books there that you can actually buy and actually get the whole presentation. Thanks again for coming. Drive safe. We'll see you soon.
Joe.
Joe.